Did you know that the majority of us only use 5% of our brain power? Yes, the majority of us only use 5% of our brain power and our brain potential. Only 5%. You know? And the majority of that is time spent doing the same things with the same people and the same activities day in and day out. Right? So for a lot of us, what we're doing is we're going to work every day. We're waking up at the same time. We're going to do the same activities after work, right? And a lot of our activities involve us waking up, charging ourselves with coffee, going to work, not really liking our jobs, but knowing it's a paycheck. And then we're going to home or we're going out to drinks and we're recharging ourselves, making us feel better by releasing our stress, relieving our stress by drinking alcohol. And we do this cycle day in and day out, and day in and day out. Well, newsflash, honey, that is a system. That is the matrix. And you know, if you watched any of my other videos, you know I made a video about unplugging from the matrix. But that's all part of the system. And what happens is we become these zombies to this systematic way of life. And we only are using 5% of our brain potential. And so we're operating on this autopilot, right? Where we're just doing things in routine and we're not really thinking outside of the box, because when you do things on autopilot, when you do things on routine, when you do things in a system, you're just kind of doing things in terms of survival as opposed to doing things for joy, doing things because it makes you happy, doing things because it challenges you, doing things because it makes you feel good. Right? When you're operating only on autopilot, what happens a lot is you're living paycheck to paycheck and you can't figure out how to get out of that system. Or you're hanging out with people you don't really like, but you don't know how to tell them you don't really like them, so you keep hanging out with them. Or you spend your time doing activities that don't really light you up inside because you're just used to doing the same activities. Well, honey, it's time to break out of that system. It's time to break out of that system. It's time to live your life for you. You know, as human beings, we've been blessed with the power of two minds. Right? In one brain. Yes, as human beings, we have been blessed with the power of two minds in one brain. But most of us, we're not even tapping in to the major power of the major brain, which is called the subconscious mind. Right? So we have two brains. Two minds. One is the conscious mind. That is the mind where we create, where we take action, where we make decisions, where we operate on our day-to-day. That helps us walk, helps us move our muscles, helps us to keep going. But on a deeper level, we have our second mind, or our other mind, our deeper mind, which is the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, honey, that is your powerhouse. Your subconscious mind is your hardware, right? It is your compass. It is your internal steering wheel, what you use to make your conscious decisions. Everything that we do with our conscious minds, all that we create with our conscious minds, all that we decide with our conscious minds comes from programs that have already been installed in the hardware of our subconscious mind. So If we know this information, and we know that we only use about 5% of our brain power, how can we start to tap in to the amazing power of our minds? How can we snap out of the BS system of the matrix and start to tap in to a new reality? A reality of positive thinking. Well, I like to think of it from a musical standpoint because music is awesome, right? Now, let's think about it like this, right? When you're growing up, there are songs that you know from your childhood. They play over and over again, and you've memorized these songs, right? These songs, this playlist, this radio station, this frequency, this vibration, right, is the radio station, the playlist that is constantly playing in your subconscious mind. Right? All of the songs, you know them by heart. If somebody said the first couple lyrics of the song, you would be able to say, oh, I know that song. It goes like this, da 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 da, or whatever, however it goes, right? But the thing is, the majority of the songs that are actually on our playlist, that are actually on that radio station, that are actually on that DJ set, that keep playing over and over in our minds, in our subconscious minds, are songs that while we know them, while we know the lyrics to them, they don't make us feel good. No. Guess what? Even though these songs are songs that are continuously playing in the back of our minds and we know the lyrics, we know the words, we know the story, these songs are not songs that make us feel good. If we look at it from a feeling standpoint, these songs are songs that make us feel doubt, that make us feel depressed, that make us feel that we are not capable. But the thing is, we've been tuned in to the same radio station for so long in our lives that we don't even think about it anymore. And what happens is, when you're not aware, when you're not awake to what's going on in the hardware of your brain, of your subconscious mind, the hardware keeps playing. You could be walking to work, you could be out with your friends, you could be meeting someone that you love, that you want to be with, but if you're not aware of the music that's constantly playing in your head, of the lyrics that are repeating over and over in your mind, even if you really want things to work out with that person, even if you want to enjoy your beautiful day, even if you want to start that new business, there's still these songs in your head that are telling you differently. And those are our negative thoughts. But you know what the great thing is? The great thing is, in your mind, in your body, you already know that you harness power. And you know how you know that you harness power? Because you felt it before. The majority of us realize our power, unfortunately, not in positive situations, but in negative situations, right? We start to feel that fireball of energy inside of us when we get angry. And you feel like, I can throw things and I can lift things up and I can punch holes in the wall. That's your power. That, honey, is your power. But the thing is, a lot of times, that power is directed by the programs that are actually playing over and over and over in our heads that we're not willing to turn off because we don't even think about it. But there's another feeling of that same power. And there's another beautiful song that you have heard before. And that song is one that makes you feel alive. that makes you feel like dancing, that makes you feel like doing something, that makes you feel like creating. That is music that's vibrating on a different frequency. That's music from a different playlist. But that's music that you have to actively seek out, right? I remember growing up that my dad used to listen to the radio in his car, and he would listen to only one radio station all the time. It was WBGO, and it was a jazz radio station, a public radio station, and he told me I couldn't touch the radio. So I just got used to I appreciate jazz now, but I just got used to listening to that same radio station for my entire childhood. And when I got home, because I lived with my mom in my mom's house, she listened to news radio. And the radio was always on. So I got used to listening to that same radio station. And those things, those news stations, jazz stations, those dial tones that stayed on the same radio station started to be my radio station. It started to be my frequency. It started to be the energy that I was vibrating with. It started to be the music on my playlist. And that's what happens to us in childhood, right? From the age of 0 to 7, we are observers. We are absorbers. We are sponges. So we are absorbing all of the frequency, all of the vibration of society, of our parents, right? And we start to pick up on those things and download those programs and stay on those radio stations until those radio stations start to be our own. Until those playlists start to be our own. Until the songs that our parents used to sing start to be our own songs. And a lot of those songs are songs that don't make us feel inspired, but make us feel doubt, right? It's like sayings, right? Money doesn't grow on trees, right? You gotta struggle and work hard. Newsflash, life is not about struggling. No matter how many programs you may see that tell you otherwise, you are uniquely designed. And life is not about struggling. You were not created and uniquely designed to be here struggling. But you have to be aware of what you're listening to. You have to be aware of the playlists that are affecting your psyche, right? I remember that I had this radio, right? And I loved this radio when I was growing up. It was this white, I don't know if you remember this brand, it was AIWA, Iowa. It was this white round boombox. It was a small compact boombox that I had, and it had on top a CD player, and it had a cassette player, and it had a radio station. And I loved this boombox so much that I kept it and I brought it with me to my new apartment. And there was this one day where I was listening to the radio on the boombox, and I found myself listening to the same exact radio station that was playing in my house as I was growing up, that my mom used to listen to. And I had this moment, this epiphany moment, where I realized, wow, I'm playing my mom's radio station. I'm living my mom's thoughts. I'm vibrating on my mom's energy and frequency, and I'm not coming up with my own playlist. And all this time, even though I'm grown now, I'm still carrying on and putting my radio dial to the same frequency that I had been putting it on since childhood, when I didn't have a choice, when I had to keep my radio at that frequency. And honey, in that moment, I decided I had to change my whole music system. And I had to give away my little compact boombox and step into a new frequency. Create a new playlist for myself. And that is how positive thinking works. That is how we start to escape the power of our negative thoughts or our challenging thoughts and start to install new positive thinking, new positive thoughts, new, happy, invigorating, dance-worthy music on our playlist. You have to create your own playlist for yourself, right? There's so many playlists out there. There's so many radio stations out there. But you have to create your own radio station. You have to set your dial in your mind to your own radio station. Otherwise, you're just letting music and noise play in the background of your mind, and you're thinking that you're trying to change your life, and you're thinking that you're trying to make decisions, but then you have moments where you're like, why do I keep getting into these same patterns? It's what you're listening to, honey. It's what you're listening to in your subconscious mind. Because none of that has changed. You can change everything up here in this conscious mind, but if none of this back here has changed, if the same music is playing, if the same lyrics, the same words are being repeated over and over and over and over about what you can't do, what you can't be, what you can't see, what you can't make. No matter how much you try to change this, if these two things, these two parts of your brain, of your two minds are not aligned, you can exhaust a lot of energy, but it's harder to make change. So what do you do? What do you do when you want to change your mind, when you want to change the power of your mind? You install new programs. You create a new playlist. And how do you do that? Well, I like to start first with words, right? And I love mantras. I think mantras are really great, but I like to start with words. And one of the things that has really helped me is being able to shift my thinking by using a keyword, using a love word, using a positive word. So let's use an example. Let's say that you're walking outside and it's a beautiful day. You hear the birds singing. You're looking at the trees. You see these beautiful flowers. You see all these beautiful plants. And you're walking, and all of a sudden, as you're walking and enjoying your walk, you start to hear, yeah, but I can't do that. You start to hear, oh my gosh, that bill is due. You start to hear, oh my gosh, my coworker, how am I going to deal with her? You start to hear all of these things that reverberate from your subconscious mind as you're walking. And you're walking consciously. You're trying to enjoy your day, but there's these background noise thoughts, right? It's like static because you're not quite on the right radio station yet, but you're trying to get there, right? So what do? Use a word, a shift word that's going to shift immediately your mindset. Let's use the word joy in this instant. So you're walking down the street, you start to hear these negative thoughts, these challenging thoughts start to flood into your mind from your subconscious background noise radio station. And you say to yourself, yeah, I got these checks, I got to pay this, I got to pay that, I got to do this, I got to do that. Joy. It switches you out of those thoughts and changes your frequency and your radio station and your playlist immediately. Try it. Next time that you feel your mind start to drift, right? Because all that means is that you've drifted away from your awareness, right? You've allowed your mind to go back to autopilot, right? It's like when we are mindlessly consuming or mindlessly scrolling, right? Our brain needs something to do. And so what happens? It puts music on in the background, right? It puts music on in the background and it says, hey, okay, it's too quiet. Let's play some systems. Let's play some mind stuff. Let's get the music going. And when you feel that, it's important for you to stop and allow yourself to think of your mind shift word. To think of your mind shift word, and then once you think of that mind shift word, allow it to shift. Allow it to change your thinking. You can change your positive thoughts. You can create what you imagine. Everything that was created in this world was created first by a thought. That's my dog. Everything that was created in this world was first created by a thought, right? So if everything in this world was first created by a thought, then you have the power. You have the ability. You have the power to change your mind. And when you change your mind, you can change your life. It's all about what you are listening to. Thank you so much for listening. Have a beautiful day. And remember, what are you listening to? What old radio stations are playing in your mind? And what words are you going to use to shift your thinking? Right? One more thing before I go. When you're thinking about positive thinking, remember, you can create mantras. Create 3 things that you're going to say to yourself before you go to bed and when you wake up. What are those things going to be? Are they going to be, I am awesome, I am powerful, I am wealthy? Whatever those 3 things are, make sure you repeat them to yourself. Keep them on your dresser. Repeat them to yourself 3 times before you go to bed and 3 times when you wake up. You can change your life because you can change your mind. The question is, what are you listening to? Have an amazing, beautiful day. Thanks for listening.